Have you noticed it too? The subtle yet undeniable shift in the way people feel, the way they look at each other, the way they carry themselves. It's as if a wave of change has moved through humanity and something deep inside individuals has dimmed or perhaps is trying to awaken. If you've sensed this in your own heart, you are not imagining it. You are not alone. In this journey, let's explore why so many people feel so different, emotionally, psychologically, biologically, and spiritually. We'll look at what psychology has long warned us about: the rise of the collective shadow, the collapse of meaning, and the alienation of the human soul. We'll examine what science is uncovering about the fragile but powerful links between body, brain, and spirit, how food, chemicals, and stress are reshaping not just our health, but our personalities. And we'll open the door to what philosophers and mystics have said for centuries, that great disturbances often signal a deeper transformation of consciousness. Some look at this moment and see collapse. Others see awakening. Either way, something profound is unfolding in the human story. But here is the central question. Are we witnessing humanity falling into despair and disconnection? Or is this turbulence a sign of birth, consciousness itself pressing forward? Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century, taught that the world we perceive is never purely objective. Reality reflects the psyche. What remains unacknowledged within us does not simply disappear, it erupts. It leaks out as projection, distortion, and conflict. When you see people behaving irrationally, aggressively, or strangely disconnected, Jung would say you are witnessing the shadow, the hidden aspects of the psyche we've denied, breaking through. Until the unconscious is made conscious, he warned, it directs our lives and we mistake it for fate. This suggests that much of the strangeness we feel around us today is not random. It is the eruption of denied pain, unspoken fear, and suppressed anger spilling over into daily life. And when the collective unconscious stirs, it doesn't emerge only in individuals. It ripples through entire societies. We see it in the rise of polarization, in communities breaking apart, in trust dissolving between people, in the feeling that humanity has lost its center. The humanist philosopher Erich Fromm warned of this decades ago. He argued that modern culture itself is sick. Instead of nurturing the human soul, it manufactures alienation as a way of life. It turns us into consumers rather than creators, competitors rather than companions. In such a culture, he said, many people flee from freedom, trading individuality for conformity, because freedom without meaning is unbearable. Look around today. So many seem numb, mechanical, scrolling endlessly, filling silence with noise, smiling without joy. They play out roles handed to them by society instead of living from the depths of their own being. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, gave another perspective. In man's search for meaning, he showed that survival itself depends on purpose. Those who found even a small sense of meaning could endure circumstances that broke others. He wrote that life is never made unbearable by conditions alone, but only by a lack of meaning. If people appear restless, impatient, or even hostile today, perhaps it is exactly what Frankl described, a crisis of meaning. When people no longer know why they live, their behavior becomes strange, erratic, and dangerous. Yet psychology only explains one layer. To see more, we turn to biology. Modern science now confirms what mystics intuited long ago. The body and mind are inseparable. The gut-brain axis, one of neuroscience's most studied systems, reveals that billions of bacteria in our intestines produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. These chemicals regulate not only digestion, but also mood, clarity, and compassion. When that inner ecosystem is disrupted by processed foods, pesticides, alcohol, antibiotics, and constant stress, people don't just get physically ill. They lose emotional balance. They become quicker to anger, slower to forgive, less capable of joy. Studies show that gut imbalance can trigger depression and anxiety, even when life circumstances are stable. Others show that violence and impulsivity rise when serotonin production collapses. Imagine an entire population living with damaged gut flora, inflamed nervous systems, and unbalanced neurotransmitters. It's no wonder patience is thin, anger is quick, compassion feels rare. Suddenly, the strangeness you sense in others is not only a spiritual intuition, it is a biological fact. And it isn't only food or chemicals that shape this reality. Lifestyle itself has become a hidden force in the erosion of balance. Long hours of sitting, constant exposure to artificial light, irregular sleep patterns, and the stress of digital overload all leave their mark on the nervous system. Research shows that lack of sleep alone can reduce empathy, intensify anxiety, and weaken decision-making. Add to this the relentless pace of modern work and the distraction of endless notifications, and you have a society biologically primed for impatience, burnout, and disconnection. The body's natural rhythms, once guided by daylight, movement, and rest, are now chronically disrupted, and with them, the stability of our emotions. Centuries ago, the physician mystic Paracelsus taught that body and spirit are one. Poison the body, and you poison the soul. Today's epidemics of chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, and mood disorders are not just medical problems. They are signals of a poisoned inner ecosystem echoing outward into personality and society. When the body burns with inflammation, patience fades. When the nervous system is overwhelmed, clarity collapses. When the gut is weakened, compassion itself becomes harder to access. But even biology is only part of the story. The deepest currents lie in the realm of spirit. Contemporary thinkers like Eckhart Tolle suggest that most of humanity lives in unconsciousness, trapped in the endless chatter of thought, ruled by what he calls the pain body, the accumulation of unhealed wounds, stored not only in individuals, but in the collective. When awareness begins to rise, the ego resists. It fights for survival. It grows louder, angrier, more divided. That may be why the world feels increasingly chaotic. Not because darkness is winning, but because light is pressing in, forcing hidden shadows into the open. Perhaps the heaviness and alienation we notice is not only collapse, but also medicine. Pain becomes pressure, and pressure cracks the shell so that the soul can emerge. What feels like emptiness may actually be the dissolving of illusion, making space for something real. Across time, mystics and philosophers have echoed the same message. The strange changes we see in people are mirrors of deeper transformations happening within consciousness itself. It feels as if two worlds are overlapping, one fading away, the other being born. When you look closer, you'll see. Psychology shows us the shadow rising. Philosophy shows us the sickness of culture. Frankl shows us the cost of lost meaning. Science shows us the body unraveling. And mystics remind us of the soul pressing toward awakening. All are different languages pointing to one truth. Humanity is at a threshold. Everything is connected. Our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our food, our culture, our attention. Consciousness itself is shifting, and the world you see is reflecting that shift back to you. And within this shift lies a choice. While much feels outside our control, global systems, economies, politics, there are still simple actions that carry great power. Choosing real rest over endless distraction, choosing food that nourishes instead of depletes, choosing genuine conversation over superficial scrolling. These may sound small, yet they realign the nervous system, restore clarity to the mind, and open space for authentic connection. Transformation is not only collective, it is deeply personal. Every individual who chooses awareness, patience, and compassion becomes a point of stability in a turbulent world. This perspective also invites us to look ahead. What if the strangeness we feel is not a signal of decline, but an invitation to evolve? Imagine societies where well-being is measured not just in productivity, but in depth of human connection, where education cultivates meaning, not just information, where technology serves consciousness instead of fragmenting it. Such futures are not fantasies. They are possibilities that begin in small, individual choices, rippling outward until culture itself begins to shift. So if the world feels darker, ask yourself, is humanity truly collapsing? Or has the light grown brighter, making shadows easier to see? If you've felt this shift echo through your own soul, you are not alone. People have changed, but so have you. And perhaps that is the point. Frankl once wrote that everything can be taken from a person but one thing, the freedom to choose one's attitude in any situation. That choice is still ours today. To notice our thoughts, to accept the changing seasons of our hearts, to become the witness instead of the victim of change. And maybe, just maybe, what feels like disconnection is the beginning of something greater. Awareness sharper, compassion deeper, light brighter. That's why it feels like two worlds, one fading into history, the other rising into possibility. The turbulence you feel is not the end. It is transformation. If this message touched something within you, let it continue beyond this moment. A simple like helps this voice reach others searching for the same truth. And if you want to keep exploring these shifts of mind, body, and spirit together, consider subscribing. This path isn't meant to be walked alone.